Today we are discussing Copilot Chat AI in the workplace, because a lot of people starting to use AI tools in their everyday work tasks, but are we really using them to the best of their ability? Are we using them of all of the concepts and ideas that they can provide? And today we're going to be giving you insights on how to make sure you can use them properly. Today we've got myself from CSG, I'm the marketing manager. Ricky, the regional sales director, is in the background and he will be answering any technical questions anyone has at the end. And James as well, head of change and AI strategy at Illuminate. Hello, James.
Good morning, everybody.
What are we going to discuss today? What is Copilot Chat? Everyone knows what Copilot is, but have we really dived into what Copilot Chat is and how it differs from other AI chat tools that people are using? How Copilot Chat compares to Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is a really, really important subject, because when people are talking to me about Copilot, they're just round ball it into one category, but there are many differences that we can all look into today. And then the real world prompts and use cases, you will be seeing live demos of it in action, which is the best part, to be able to really work out how you can use it in your work life every day. And most importantly, secure adoption. Everyone's now feeling more of a pressure to begin and using AI tools in their day-to-day. Employees are looking for more automated routine task work. So how can you incorporate AI securely into your environment without having any issues with that? And then how to get the most out of Copilot Chat today through some tips and tricks from the expert, James.
Thank you.
So we've got lots of people on the call today who haven't been on a previous webinar. Welcome. Thank you so much for being interested in this webinar. We are a trusted IT and security partner to around 400 SMEs. We've been established since 1985 and we're actually celebrating our 40th year trading, which is a real great milestone for us. We've got over 50 members of staff and they're all trained Microsoft, Sophos, all of our partners, accreditations. Like I said, Bridgend is our home base, but we also cover Bristol and Exeter. And we've simplified our approach because a lot of IT and a lot of companies can just complicate everything because there's so many different technical areas that you can focus on. So we've structured ours into a consult, protect and transform process, and that basically means that we are here to consult you and help you basically get a really good strategy of how to use the latest technology, because everyone starts to implement technology and AI into their businesses, but are we really doing it strategically to get the most out of it? And then obviously everything we do has our 24/7 cyber protection awareness and making sure that you guys are safe when you're implementing these fun AI tools. We are a Microsoft Solutions partner, which means that we have the latest access and support from Microsoft directly. We're cybersecurity, GDPR ready, assess, cyber essentials, all of the things that you basically need to make sure are confirmed before you start working with an IT company or partner. We're really excited to announce that we won Sophos Partner of the Year this year, which was such a brilliant recognition for the hard work that everyone does at CSG. It was such a brilliant thing as well, as a company in Wales, and Sophos is obviously a global cybersecurity giant, and like I said, head office is in Bridgend. So for us, that was a really amazing testimony to the hard work that our engineers and all of the people at CSG do today. Again, Kaseya, Data, Cisco, all the technology that we're using and that you use every day, we are partnered with, so we've got the latest software for that. AI, that's what we're here to talk about today. I mean, I hope you're all not sick of hearing AI buzzword all the time, because let's be honest, it's not going anywhere. We're going to have to incorporate it into our workday lives, and that's not a bad thing. It's going to be fun. And to be honest, I've started using Copilot Chat in my day-to-day a lot more before hosting this webinar, and it's really fun to communicate with my colleagues and just say, did you guys, you could do this with it as well? And every day me and my manager are just finding new ways to use it, it makes it a bit fun, to be honest. So how can we at CSG support you with your AI journey? We do workshops, and a lot of people don't want to be sat behind a screen all the time, doing webinars and go-to guides. We love to have people in person to really engage with you and show you how to use these tools one-on-one. That is something that we hear so much about our account managers and our customers with CSG, that personal value about them going to the offices, having that face. I think it really does matter when you are potentially going to spend some of your budget on this tool. You don't want to just be shown something then left to it. We'll be giving you that one-on-one guidance throughout. We can help you really build and foster that community of AI, because when people are using it in your work, are they using it strategically? Are they using it effectively? That's something that we can really help support with, to build an organizational-wide, security-focused approach to using AI as well. So yeah, making sure that you can get an ROI off your AI use as well. That is something that I think a lot of companies are now focusing on. But why Copilot Chat? Why is that the AI tool that people are using? I've seen it hands-on, how it's improving productivity across teams. It makes it so much easier to quickly do those things that you don't want to have the time to do. Who here was delegated to take the notes of the meeting and the sales meeting this morning? I'm usually the one who's delegating the notes, and to be honest, Copilot has saved me so much time doing this. I can just easily send it across. I remember the first time I did it, it was literally in like 3 minutes, and they were just like, already? Yes, already. And this is something that you can use every day and really save time with. Most importantly, and I'm going to say it a lot, and you probably get annoyed of hearing it, but top level security. There is no point using AI tools if you're not using it securely, because compliance regulations, depending on what industry you work in, there's going to be different areas that you simply cannot use, which is why Copilot Chat is the way to go, because it's using your business data instead of obviously public data, making it secure. I know that when I'm talking to different people in different departments, AI and Copilot Chat has allowed me to just easily interact with different departments, with the finance team, with HR. It allows me to put all of my notes, all of my ideas into one document that they can just read and access. So improved collaboration is something that we've seen firsthand from our clients using Copilot Chat as well. Sorry, I think the fab. So how is it actually being used in the workplace? Because we talk about how we want you to use it, but let's look at some real life stats. So 44% of time spent on AI tools occur during work hours, which is great, meaning that it is the productive work tool for people to use. 44% of uses of AI at work were generating ideas, which is great, because that is just showing the creativity side of it, which is really fun. Looking up information. I don't know how many people will probably can think back to their days in university where they had to read thousands and thousands and thousands of words and everything, and now you can just quickly digest a document instantly, which is something that I use a lot. And then 74% of people who use generative AI at work think it boosted their productivity, and I think we can all agree that it definitely can do that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, actually. I'm going to jump in on that one, because 74%, as much as that's a very impressive number, it still feels to me as though it might be low, because I think everybody can find something that AI is going to help them with. I'd be really surprised if you've got no use cases for AI at all, because it's such a day-to-day tool for me. I use it all the time. So I think this is a training and adoption kind of conversation where, as it starts to become a bit more commonplace and people get a bit more familiar with it, I think that number's going to climb even higher. I really do think this is going to be the new calculator in the office space. I'm going to jump in, if I may, now, and just explain a couple of these tools to you, and then we'll show you what some of them look like. You can have a go at some of these things yourselves if you've got your Copilot Chat open on one screen, ready off to the side. We'll show you some tips and tricks that you can have a play with. But it's probably worth noting that as much as these tools are incredibly powerful, they're also very, very new and very, very early. What you're seeing here is just a reminder that technology gets better as time goes on. And in the past, that's taken a while. For mobile phones to get to where we see mobile phones today and what we're used to today has taken the best part of 40 years. It's a long old time. Well, AI is moving far quicker than that, far quicker. And these tools today are as bad as they are ever going to be. And it's worth noting as well that the tools that we're using right now in Copilot Chat, Microsoft 365 Copilot, are so different to the tools that we met when these products were first launched into the world. And they are significantly better already after just a year or so of development into these tools. They can do way more than they were able to do when we first got our hands on them. And actually, quite encouragingly, despite the fact that they're much more functional, Microsoft has never increased the price. I don't know that we can rely on that being the case forever. That's not very Microsoft style, but certainly for the time being, they're getting better and better, and the price has stayed the same, which is great. So what is Copilot Chat? This particular tool is extremely useful because it is a business-approved AI chat tool. What do I mean by that? Well, it's safe to use with your work data. That's the main thing. And most AI tools are not safe to use with your work data straight out of the box. The default behavior for your average AI tool is that it collects information that's put into it to use that information to make the AI tool better. Training, essentially, and it's called model training. So you might be sharing your data for model training with any number of different AI solutions. So make sure you're comfortable that you understand what is happening with your data when you are using an AI tool. But to make that slightly simpler, if you're using a Microsoft tool, it's pretty straightforward. You've got two tools that can be used in the workspace, and those are Copilot Chat, and then there is another version called Microsoft 365 Copilot. Those two different tools are the work tools that Microsoft makes available. And you can be safe if you are signed in with your work account using either of those tools. So the golden rule, if you want to be safe using an AI and you want to use it with your company data, your work data, your customer data, all of those kind of things, is make sure you're signed in with your work account. That's the best way to make sure that you are safe. And if you accidentally sign into like the consumer version of Copilot or the home version, that you would normally be working with your kids doing homework or that kind of thing, provided you sign in with your work account, it will direct you to the correct tool to make sure that you are safe as well. So it's really quite a good, simple message, nice and easy to make sure that you are using it safely. And on the topic of using AI safely and responsibly, there's a couple of other things to be slightly aware of as well. One is that you've got these incredibly powerful tools now. I can generate an image of anything that I like, but that also means that I might generate some images that aren't appropriate to be shared publicly because of copyright or trademark rules, things like that. And I just need to be slightly conscious that I'm responsible for that. However, there is some good news there, that if you were to inadvertently find that Copilot has put out something in an image that's not appropriate, it's copyrighted or something like that, or perhaps it's written something for you that you weren't aware is actually someone else's content, provided it's an accident, i.e. you haven't in your prompt said, hey, write me an ad based on Shake It Off by Taylor Swift or something like that. If it's accidental, Microsoft will actually take responsibility for that. They will take liability out of your hands if Copilot is at fault. So we just need to be careful that we're using the prompts carefully, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. The other thing to bear in mind is if we can make clever pictures and images and documents and websites and all that kind of stuff, so can other people. What you see may not be real. You could be looking at a fictitious profile, you could be looking at a fictitious charity or a fictitious event or a fictitious product. Video can be faked with AI, everything can be now, so you've got to be very careful when you're engaging with stuff online that it is real and it's not someone trying to manipulate you using these clever tools. You can see some other examples on the right as well. Not always is AI going to do a perfect job. This is a marketing shot, but you can see that the AI tool that was used to generate this one has kind of kept everybody the same character, so they're all sort of young white guys with beards, which isn't particularly diverse. So from marketing standards point of view, it wouldn't hit the level that we expect. So the tools are good and they are very, very clever, but they do make silly mistakes from time to time, and we've just got to be mindful of that. And this last one is just kind of further reinforcement of that bias that sometimes lives in some of these tools. This was drawn using a tool called Flux, which is a really cool AI tool, and I asked it to draw doctors. I asked it to draw a doctor, and I asked it to do that about 40 times, and it drew me about 39 men who were doctors, and then it eventually drew a female doctor. So these tools are built by humans, and sadly they've inherited some of the biases that we've got from the data that we've used to train them. So we can get around by prompting more specifically and directly to the AI. I can tell it to draw me a picture of a diverse gathering of people baking in a tent or whatever I want to do. So I can deliberately work around some of those challenges. And that's where some of these rules come in. Be careful what you're dealing with. It may not be real, but also AI doesn't always get things right, but it will always sound confident. It's probably the world's best salesperson. It doesn't necessarily commit to 100% accuracy, but it's always top notch when it comes to sort of sounding credible. So you can't quite trust them as much as you would like to, which means you've got to take responsibility for checking that it's accurate and making sure it's fit for purpose. And it's an incredibly valuable tool, but to use it safely, the most important reminder is just have someone who's in the loop, a human in the loop, to make sure that what AI is doing, we're approving, and we're sending out, we're making sure it's okay. If you've got a human that's checking over everything, you can't go wrong so much currently with this. Okay, so let's get started with Copilot Chat. So how would you get started with it? If you're not signed into it already, the first thing to do is go and sign in. If you're signed into your Teams account, you can use Copilot Chat there. You can go to m365copilot.com and use it there. You can actually go to office.com now and use it there too. Microsoft really have started putting Copilot everywhere. It's right in front of you, virtually everywhere you go. So it's not very hard to find Copilot. But the main thing is to remember that you're signed in with your work account. And if I just bring up mine for a second, go and find my Teams, and maybe we'll use Copilot there today. Where have you gone? There you are. So I've got, let me just simplify things a little bit here. So I've got a little icon at the top here, which looks like me. I can click on that and it will show me that I'm signed in with the correct account. So that is what we need to do. Just validate that we're in with our work account, and you will be absolutely safe with using Copilot Chat. Now, I'll talk about this in just a second, the layout, but I'll just take you back here and we'll just explain what the key pieces of this are. You'll notice it's saying, number 2, ensure you're signed in with your work account. If you're signed in, you'll have a green shield next to new chat and at the top. That green shield is telling us that we are safe in what we're doing. If I go back into my application, show you where that is, it's up here. You can see that when I hover over it, it says enterprise data protection applies to this chat, which means that the content I put into it is not shared with anybody. It's perfectly safe. It never leaves your organization. If I click on that link, it's going to take me off to a training page where I can learn a bit more about that. So if you'd like to understand those rules a bit more, you can. But it's safe. That's the short version. On top of that, you've got lots of different parts of the layout, but rather than just sort of guide you around this in slides and so forth, we're going to break out of the presentation now and we'll look at all this stuff live, and then we'll come back to it a little bit later. So the first thing to show you, I guess, is how to prompt and how to use this AI tool. So let's bring it back. And you can see on my Copilot setup here, I've got a Copilot app icon in my team. So I'm using this in Microsoft Teams. I would encourage everybody to use it in Teams to start off with. I think Teams is a very good version of Copilot. It works very well. It's very effective. It's nice and easy to use as well. There's one subtle variation that you're going to see if you're using this with Copilot Chat. I've got the licensed version of Copilot, and one of the easiest ways to tell whether your license is activated or if you've got other people who are asking, how do I know if I've got a license? It's this toggle at the top, work and web. And that toggle is telling me that Copilot is going to build answers using content from the web. If I have the license, I've also got the ability to ask Copilot to build answers using content from my work stuff, essentially my email, my calendar, my messages, my files, my documents, that sort of thing. I'm going to stick with web because that's a more true simulation of what you're dealing with, what you've got if you've got Copilot Chat. Elsewhere on the screen, you can see I've got Try GPT-5. We'll talk about that a bit later, but essentially it's trying out this new model that's available from Microsoft in partnership with OpenAI, who make ChatGPT. And it's a very scientific model. It does very clever things like coding and developing and mathematical science problems, things like that. So if you've got something really difficult to try, you could try out GPT-5. For the most of us, and for the most part, it's probably overkill and it takes a bit longer, so you won't necessarily need to use that a great deal. We've got our Start New Chat button, which allows us to wipe out the conversation to prevent Copilot getting confused, start something fresh. So if you're going to change topic, change tack, we start a new chat. And then we've got our settings dots over here as well. We'll come back to that in a moment. One of the first things you might like to know is that you can tell Copilot to remember things. So remember that I am going to Bristol this weekend. Something like that. And when you give Copilot a fact like that or a piece of information about you like that, it updates its memory. So you can see here it said memory updated. And it will just hold that piece of information on a list so that it knows a bit more about me. If I want to see the things that Copilot remembers about me, I can go to my settings and I can go into here, into personalization, and I can see my instructions for Copilot and I can see its memory. So let's look at memory first. And these are things that might be useful to it to know. It knows that I'm based out in West Wales in Pembrokeshire, and it knows I'm going to Bristol this weekend. I've just given it that fact. If that weren't true anymore, if I didn't think it was useful for it to know that, I could delete that particular memory just using the icon on the side here. And you can see it's picked up some things about me, who I am, what I do. I've given it some of that information because it affects the way that it answers questions, and it helps me when it answers questions in a way that I can use it a bit more quickly, a bit more easily. If this stuff bothers you in any way, shape or form, you can turn it off. You can delete all the memories at any point. None of this is ever going anywhere. It's not shared with anybody. It's specific to you, and it only learns about you. It's not going to collect memories from your colleagues and give you access to what their stuff is. It's not going to know those things. A Copilot is individual. It's for you to use. So your Copilot learns about you. It has access to your stuff. It can see what you've got permission to see. Your neighbour's Copilot has their permissions and it can see what they can see, and it works for them. So your Copilot works for you. It's not going to go telling people your secrets. It's not going to share things it shouldn't. And I can go on top of that as well in the instruction section here, and I can just tell it a few things that I want it to remember. These tend to be best kept quite simple because these are going to apply to virtually everything that Copilot does. So for example, you might choose the language that you want Copilot to use or the spelling that you want it to use. You might encourage it to use slightly simpler punctuation if you're fed up with all these dashes and things that it tends to do on things like that. So we can tailor the things that we always want it to keep in mind, and then we can give it these memories to help it learn more about us as well. And that's quite useful. As it learns more about me, it's going to mean that I can say, things like, can you help me find a hotel? And I haven't told it that I want a hotel in Bristol, but it's going to remember because we're in the same conversation. It's now remembered that that's where I'm going. So it's got that context from earlier on. This is incredibly useful if you're just searching for information. If you imagine how you might Google information, use a search engine, that's going to bring up a bunch of results. But with an AI, you can have a conversation and you can say, well, I'm looking for one that's got pool, I'm looking for one that's like this, or I'm looking for one that's under this price, or whatever the case may be. So you can do all that filtering that you might have had to go and do on a hotel site. But AI is just going to take all of your needs, your preferences. Can it be close to this thing? Can it be, this amount of stars? All of that kind of stuff I can do, and Copilot will just help me to have that search through, and it'll show me where it's getting its answers from. So that's the next thing to talk about, is how do we validate what we're getting from an AI, because it might get things wrong. Maybe this hotel doesn't exist. Maybe it's not in Bristol, or maybe it's not this price, or whatever. So Copilot quite helpfully is aware of the fact that it sometimes gets things wrong, and it will tell you where it's got that information from. So I can open up that link, and Copilot is going to show me this is where I got that. The Bristol hotel is here. Here it is. Like I see, it's £91 a night. So Copilot did get it wrong. It's actually cheaper than Copilot thought it was, which is quite a welcome benefit. But it does go to show, doesn't it? It is a good idea to check the details of things that you get from the AI. So that's one of the things that we can learn. You can talk to your AI, you can tell it a few things about you, you can tell it to remember who you are, what your role is, the kind of work that you do, how you want Copilot to interact with you, and that's going to make your experience a little bit better over time. Copilot will be able to help you out a bit more. But there's some other things that we can do as well. And then we're going to get into, I think, slightly more traditional prompting methodology now as well. So for example, think of Copilot like your assistant. If you give your assistant a vague instruction, they're going to ask you questions. So if I say to Copilot, help me draft an email, is that a question or an instruction? Oh, maybe it's both. So Copilot is going to say, well, I don't know who you want to send that email to, who do you want to email, what's the purpose of the email, do you like them, do you want me to keep it formal or not formal, what's your instructions for that? So we can use Copilot to do virtually anything of this nature, to create documents, to create emails, all that sort of stuff. But I do need to give it some help. I do need to give it some instructions so that it can do that better. And there's an approach that Microsoft have shared that they think is a very good way to build prompts in your AI, and it's called the GCSE method, which is quite easy for us to remember here in the UK, isn't it? It stands for goal, context, source, and expectation. So let me start talking to my Copilot again, and this time I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm actually going to talk to my AI using the dictation button. This does sometimes play up for me, so we'll give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's a pretty cool new feature, and you can use it if you've got something that's a bit more involved that you would like to go through with your AI, and you've got quiet space to do it. So let's try this out. Copilot, can you help me build a guide to the GCSE prompting methodology? I want to share this with people on the call today. That methodology is based on Microsoft's approach, and you can find more information about that on the Microsoft Learn page. I'd like a really clear and concise breakdown of what this approach means and how to use it that I can share with the people on the call today. So slightly longer prompt, and I put a bit more effort into structuring that. So I gave it a goal, I've given it a context, I want to share it with people. I've given it a source of information so that it can do a better job of rounding out the answer. And I've given it some expectations, keep it clear, keep it concise. So let's send that into Copilot and see how it does. But the difference between an elaborate prompt that's sort of following a structure and you just asking it a question and it's saying, oh, do you want a red one or a blue one? And you saying, well, I'd like a red one. It said, do you want a big one or a small one? It said, like a small one, please. It's just that you'll take a bit longer getting to the end result. So just going back and forth with the AI is totally fine. Don't be too troubled if you don't get it when it's sort of prompting structures and things like that. It's totally fine. It's absolutely fine to just go back and forward and ask the questions. The only difference a prompt like this makes is I get there slightly quicker, which is a little easier for me. And you will find you just get used to it. You kind of get used to the questions that Copilot asks you, and you just start to get better at building up the prompts in a way that it's going to ask you less questions, basically. So I've got this prompting methodology guide now. Define what you want to achieve, be specific about the task, provide some instructions and so on. Tell it where to get the information, set clear output requirements, best practices, all this kind of stuff, common mistakes to avoid. Great. So I've got now this handy guide. So I've got some buttons underneath my prompt now that it's finished as well. I've got a prompt to allow me to copy it out. So I'm going to do that. I can give some feedback to Microsoft about how that went. Yeah, great job. I think that's a good answer. I can get it read to me by the AI if I want to. I can also edit it. So you'll notice I can copy this out, but I can't change it. So if I go into the pencil icon here, it takes me to a little notepad on the side, and I can edit the response that I got and keep it. So now I can say I'm going to call this prompting. Let's just call it that, prompting methodology, and I'm going to take this bit out. It says here that it did find this from the MS Learn stuff, so giving it that giving it that source was helpful. As an overview, the goal, the context. Yeah, I kind of like that. I can edit it if I want to. Got some good best practices. I might take this bit off because that's just commentary from the AI. So there we go. So that's kind of done. It's ready to go. And I can open that in Word if I want to then make a file out of it, make a document out of it, do all that kind of thing as well. I'll be able to edit that. Up that opens and it's ready to go. Or I can just close out of here. I could copy it like that, and I could, take it to a place where I could share it. So maybe into our chat or something like that. And I can drop that prompting guide into the chat for you. So if you'd like that, you can have it. It's in the chat. It's brilliant for that kind of thing. If you've got a quick job that you want to do and you'd like to make it nice and neat, make it nice and structured, have it well written, spelling's all correct, all that sort of stuff. Copilot's very good at that. It's going to do that for us. But I can build on that as well. I can do some other things too. I can generate imagery. I can use imagery. So Copilot's got this visual side to it as well. So if I want to, I can say things like, Copilot, can you generate a graphic that helps me to demonstrate the premise that technology is moving really fast? In relation to AI, I'd like this to be a visual that really shows a sense of rapid evolution of technology. So if I'm building a presentation or a document or a website or whatever, one of the things that I might like to be able to do is get imagery so that I can enhance what I'm doing. And it was probably true until relatively recently that AI generated imagery looked a bit off. It was a bit weird, and it maybe wasn't fit for purpose. And I say that implying that it's going to be better, fully aware that I have no idea what this image is going to look like when it's generated. So the way AI generates imagery is completely random. You can give it a prompt, you can give it an instruction, but its interpretation of that prompt can't really be truly predicted. So we'll see what we get. Maybe we get something fantastic, maybe we don't. What you'll notice though is it's kind of building it over time. It takes a little bit of time to do this, about a minute or so, but you can generate virtually anything that you want, and it will be a unique image that's unique to you. You would have created something that's got no kind of rights required to go and use it, provided you haven't asked it to generate something that's clearly someone else's intellectual property. So it's doing that for me. The other thing that we can do, and you might notice actually on the prompting box, I've got a little plus button. I could give Copilot an image. I can also give it a file as well. That's a weird. Okay, well, I see what it's going for there. So we're going to test out its ability to view an image. I'm just going to open up my browser. You just have to be slightly careful whenever you go browsing stuff. There might be some kind of crazy news story or something. So I'm going to go to the image search, and I'll bring that in for you again now. We can pick a place. So let's pick. Well, we picked Bristol, didn't we? That was the place I was going to. So if I just type in the name of the city, maybe there's an iconic landmark, maybe the Suspension Bridge or something like that. So the Suspension Bridge is pretty synonymous with Bristol. And I'm just going to use my screen clipping tool, and I'm just going to nab this one part of the bridge. Just grab that bit there and see how identifiable it is. We'll ask Copilot to do that for us. So it's generated our image, and it has interpreted my request. Whether you think it's done a brilliant job or not, maybe a bit subjective. And I might try a few different styles. I might try to give it more direction. I could say, could you make this photo realistic? Could you make it in the style of a cartoon? Could you make it X, Y, and Z? So I could set some expectations to do a different job with this, but actually I think it's done a pretty good job. So let's start a new chat. I'm going to give this image that I've just clipped. It's very small, but that's the Suspension Bridge chunk that I took. And I'm going to say to Copilot, where was this photo taken? You can see it's got that small section, but it's identified correctly. Well, that looks like the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which spans the Avon Gorge in Bristol. It's an iconic landmark designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel. So that's correct. All of that's correct. I could learn more about it if I wanted to. This is so powerful. It is an incredibly useful side to the tool because I can drop in a photo of something that's broken around my house. If some bits fallen off my radiator, I can take a picture of that, give it to Copilot and say, what's this? What does it do? How important is it? How do I replace it? Where can I get another one? Can you get me a link to somewhere I can buy it, please? Can you find me a local plumber that can come and fit it? I'm nervous to do it myself. Or you can say, what are the steps to go and do that myself if I want to? I can't tell you the amount of times my wife and I moved into a 200-year-old farmhouse earlier this year, having lived in a new build prior to that. It's a very, very different way of life. Lots of things to do and lots of things to fix. And I can't tell you how useful it's been to be able to get AI to say, how do I fix this problem? Or what do I need to do here? Or how does my wood-burning stove work? I've got no idea how to use this thing. What do I do? So being able to have those conversations with an AI that can just kind of walk you through how to do things is really nice, because you can have a perfect conversation about the specific thing you're trying to do, not just going off and Googling stoves and things and trying to figure it out. So it's very, very powerful to be able to give images to the tool. You could, for example, screen clip a presentation slide and say, hey, I've got this presentation slide. Can you give me some feedback? What do you think? Does it look okay? And see what it says. Now, you have to be a little bit careful taking directions from AIs. They don't always know more than you do. But it can't hurt sometimes to have a second opinion if you want one. And the other thing we can do is we can click on this plus button here, and we can give a file to Copilot Chat as well. So I'm going to upload a document to it. I've got some sample documents here. They're all fictitious. And I'm going to give it, actually, they're not all fictitious. This one's real, but that might be quite interesting. So this is a legal case summary. And I'm going to ask Copilot, can you provide a basic overview of this case for educational purposes? What are the most important things to learn? And can you make, 3 questions to test my understanding of the subject? Something like that. So I absolutely adore AI as an educational tool. I'm a learning and development kind of guy, as you can probably tell. But what's brilliant about it is you can use it to just bounce ideas back and forth to try and help improve your understanding. So I've used that for lots and lots of things over the past couple of years now, to help me with everything from computer networking to like stuff around the farm and so forth. Copilot is brilliant if you just want to say, I want to learn more about that. What are the key things I need to know? And then on top of that, you can say, okay, I think I get it. Can you just help test my understanding? Ask me some questions, please, so that I can check that I do understand. So in this case, you can see it summarized the case. It pulled out the key facts that were relevant to this particular case, and then there are some learning points. Here are the things that you would need to learn about this if you're training to become a solicitor, perhaps, and here are some questions to test your understanding, and so on and so on. So as a learning tool, incredibly powerful, but also you've seen here, I've given it a document, I've asked it to summarize it, it can do that. I can ask questions about that document now. So if I have a big document, one of these 1,000-page PDFs, pop it into Copilot and start to ask questions about it. What's this document about? What are the key things that I need to know about it? On what page can I find more information about this bit, or whatever the case may be? So very, very powerful from that perspective as well. So anything I want to do of that nature, it's always worth having a go with Copilot. Just try it out, essentially. The last thing I'm going to show is if you've generated a prompt that you think you might use regularly. So let's say you're in a sales role or something like that. Can you help me with some objection handling tips for and then I'm just going to say product, like that. There's a reason that I'm doing that. So I'm going to send that into Copilot. And it'll say, okay, yeah, what product or service are we focusing on? Now, this is something that I could use every single day if I was a salesperson, potentially. So I'm going to hover over. I'm just going to wait for this to finish as well. Not quite done yet. It's still having a little think. But whenever you send a prompt into Copilot, once it's complete, you can essentially hover over the prompt and you'll get some options for it. Well, it's being difficult. It's being difficult for me. I wonder if I can force it by just going to a new chat and then going back. If you need to go back to another conversation that you've had with Copilot, it's this menu on the side here. So this button opens up this list, and then I can see some of those key things as well. So this was the one we did before. You can see when I hover over that, I've got this ability to edit it, copy it, or save it. Saving prompts is really, really useful. When you save a prompt, it pops up a menu like this. You can give it a name. So in our case, it would have been something like objection handler or something like that, wouldn't it? And then I can save that prompt. When I then am looking at Copilot from here, I can go into the See More section, and I can open up the prompt gallery, and I can go to my prompts, and I can get those prompts that I use. So you can see I've got some comparisons and things, definitions, rate checking for interest rates and things like that, the prompting stuff and so on. So you can reuse the prompts that you like and that you use regularly as much as you want. So you can save those just by going to any prompt that you've already run, hovering over it, and then hitting the save button. You can remove it that way as well. Last thing I'm going to highlight here as well, I opened up this panel. When I did, you may have the ability to use some agents with Copilot Chat as well. You won't see all of these. Some of them are license specific, but you should have this ability to go into the All Agents page. If not, have a chat with your IT partner. And we can open this up. So I can get things like the prompt coach. If I scroll down, you'll see there are some agents built by Microsoft. Some of these are free that you can try out for yourself, such as the prompt coach. And when we use that, it will ask us to install it normally, but I've got it installed, so I can just open it. So if you want to develop your skills with prompting, you can do, as you might say, I need help to build a marketing strategy plan for our business for 2026, like that. So you tell it the goal of what you want to do, and then it will come back and it will ask you some questions, relevant questions, to help you to build out a better prompt to give to the AI. So this isn't going to do the marketing plan for me. What it's going to do is draft a prompt that I can then use with the AI tool. So you can see how I would answer the questions, and then Copilot's going to help me to build a better prompt. So if that's something you're keen to learn a bit more about, you can use tools like the prompt coach. However, you could just as easily go to your standard Copilot and Chat and say, can you help me build a prompt? And Copilot would do the same kind of thing for you as well. Okay, we are starting to get to the point where I want to just make sure that we've not missed anything before I hand back to the lovely Eve to just talk about what some of these things. So a quick summary for you of some of the things that we've done. We've talked about how it's all laid out. We've looked at prompting and checking sources and how we can just have a conversation if we want to. We've explained the prompting structure and given you some tips for that so that you can get started, hopefully. We've looked at what the difference is between effective prompts and maybe less effective prompts. I do have to say on this point, I wouldn't necessarily say it's less effective or more effective. I would say that if you give the Copilot or you give an AI less to go on, the AI becomes more creative and less, it follows your instructions less. So if you want creativity, so let's say you wanted ideas for a blog post or something like that, giving it less to go on could actually be a good thing because it would be more creative in the answers that it gave to you. Whereas if you give it a very specific prompt, it's going to follow those instructions much more to the letter. So you may find if you want creativity, actually being vague is good. But if you want more detail and follow your instructions more, then give it clear instructions. Uploading files we looked at. We can give images as well. I just literally cut and paste an image into it. I can upload a file using the plus icon. That's incredibly powerful. We've looked at how it can create visuals. It created an image for us. It could have easily created a graphic, and we could have asked it to go and do some research on a particular topic and then produce a chart for us, all that kind of stuff as well. So very, very powerful. We looked finally at how to save a prompt that we'd like to use over and over again. We write the prompt and then we go into that prompt gallery by going into view prompts down the bottom here. So a few different ways that we could do it, and then finally we mentioned the prompt coach if you want to try some bits and pieces there too. Okay, last thing then. So the difference between the licenses. So you'll have seen today you can do quite a lot with a free license. Everything I've shown you today you can do with a free license, and actually a lot of what you would want to do you can do with Copilot Chat. So no reason not to get started. Have a go and you're going to have some fun with AI. If you do decide you're interested to learn more about it, then there is a paid license as well called the Microsoft 365 Copilot license. The key difference between the two is that then it's going to connect into your work data. It can see your email, it can see your messages. So you can ask it questions like, who was it that sent me that email 6 months ago? When is my next meeting with David? Or go and check my files. Have I got anything that explains how to do this particular job or whatever? And Copilot will be able to use your data to produce a better answer for you. It's going to enable you to have the copilots that live in the applications and do application-specific jobs as well. So you'll be able to ask Copilot to build a presentation for you in PowerPoint and things like that as well. So the paid version of Copilot does have some app-specific capabilities. It integrates with your data. It features everything that we've seen today and a bit more, but it's a paid license. There's a cost to it. So you kind of start with Copilot Chat, I would say, and then if you want to explore more, start experimenting with the paid license and see what your use cases are. See if you get a good return on your investment. All of these tools, if you're signing in with your work account, they offer enterprise-grade security and privacy. That's worth reiterating as well. So Copilot Chat is the name of the tool that's supplied within your Microsoft 365 license, and it's not the same as the Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is the paid version. Beyond these two, there is another one that you find by going on your phone and downloading an app and things like that. There is a Copilot, nothing, just Copilot, that is the home users one as well. So there is a third, and that one is not recommended for work purposes. It's not safe for work use. So stick with Copilot Chat and Microsoft 365 Copilot. Easiest way to make sure you're using one of those is to make sure that you're signed in using your work account. So I hope that tells you everything that you need to know to get started and what your next steps might be. I'm going to hand back to Eve at this point just to wrap up and maybe take a look at some of the questions that we've been asked, if there are any questions. Eve.
Yes, thank you so much, James. Thank you so much. That was such a brilliant demo, and perfect that you just mentioned what's the difference between Copilot Chat and the 365, because a lot of the questions we've had in the background are referring to that. So thank you so much for that. The first one is about Copilot Chat exposing confidential data. So compared to other tools, how does it secure the data?
Yeah, so Copilot only sees what you can see. So it really is a case of, if your data has got good permission structure set up already, you should be fine with Copilot. But you'll notice I said should, because it is possible, isn't it, that you might have a sensitive document that you've loaded into a space in SharePoint or something like that, and it's not got the appropriate permissions on it. So Copilot's not going to break anything, and it's not going to allow people to see anything today that they couldn't see yesterday. But what it might do is it might help somebody to find something that is in the wrong place or hasn't got the permission set up correctly. So if you're not sure, you're nervous, there's a couple of things you can do. Copilot Chat, first and foremost, completely safe. That's not looking at your file. There's no issue with Copilot Chat. So you can absolutely start your AI trialing and testing just using Copilot Chat. And then you can do some auditing, just check those sensitive files, make sure they're in the right place. You can work with the team at City as well to get some help to do that if you're not sure how to do it. But the best practice is to just do a little bit of an audit, make sure all the really sensitive stuff is where it should be and that the right people can see it and no one else. And then when you're happy with that, you can have Copilot start looking around for it. And if you just can't get to that point, or you never feel confident, you can actually tell Copilot to ignore particular folders as well. So again, do the brainwork, make sure you're safe, but the team at CSG can help you with all that if you're not sure.
And Copilot, is it approved for sensitive data? A lot of people on the calls today are working industries where they've got to make sure that their data is secure. Is it okay for restricted data as well?
Yeah, it is, because Copilot works by essentially keeping your files with you. The data never leaves your tenant boundary, which is a technical term, but it basically never leaves your organization. So that means it's compliant to the highest standards. So it's used by legal teams and financial accountancy firms all over the world. So it is compliant to the highest standard. Obviously check for your use cases, what you want to do and how you want to do it, but it tends to be the case that the tool itself is compliant. The usage of the tool has to be slightly managed, and you may need a policy internally for that, but it's compliant.
With regards to agent usage, what admin controls are available for organizations?
For agents, you can turn them on or off. So you can decide who can build agents and essentially manage it that way. And then really it becomes a case of where you build the agents as to what sort of controls you're going to have. So in Teams and SharePoint, you can build simple agents, and really your administrative control is limited to, is it on or is it off? Once you then start going over the fence into slightly more complex territory, things like Copilot Studio, where you can build more elaborate agents, then you can assign roles, give people access to that on a case-by-case basis, whereas it tends to be more organizational foundational for the other two, if that makes sense. So you've got some tools, but they're quite simple for the simple tools, and they are more complex for the more complex tools, if that makes sense.
When you load it up in the browser, I noticed that you got the work and then the web tabs. What's the importance of making sure you're on the right one?
Yeah, so it's about where it's building that answer from. So with the work toggle selected, it's going to compile information from my email and all that stuff we've been talking about, the data, the SharePoint, the OneDrive, my stuff that I can see. It's going to be able to use that to build an answer. So if the question is something around, what's my diary look like, or who was it who sent me that file, then it can see that thing and build the answer. If I don't need that, if I actually want it to go and look on the web and just what's best practice for change management or something like that, then having it set to web means it's just going to go and look at that on the web. It's not going to start trying to use work documents to build up that answer.
Brilliant. And then we've got some more questions just come in. So if using unlicensed, will access to company server files be blocked?
Yeah, if you're using the unlicensed version of Copilot Chat, then it doesn't perform what's called indexing. So that's when it goes and looks for these files. So it's not going to do that. It's just going to work with you. It will build up a memory of you and sort of some information about you. And you can give it a file on a one-off basis to look at and to do things with, as you saw, but it's not going to go looking for things like company server files, anything like that. Even if you were using the licensed version, your access to company server files would dictate what Copilot can see. If you can see it, your Copilot can see it. If you can't, your Copilot is not going to enable you to be able to see something. So yeah, it will manage that if it's kind of set up correctly in the first place. And I can see there's a second part to that question as well. Does it automatically block access to folders and drives you you don't have access to it, or does this need setting up IT before license use? So it will see what you can see. So if you don't have access, your Copilot's not going to see access. Your Copilot can't sign into stuff as well. People sometimes ask me, can it go on LinkedIn and find somebody for me if I want to hire somebody with this skill set? It can look at LinkedIn, but it can't log in. It can't sign in. It can't put a password into a passworded document or things like that. It can't do stuff like that at this stage. So it can see what you can see, but there are some things it can't. It can't sign into things, nor would you want it to go and sign into your LinkedIn without you at this stage, I suspect.
Definitely. And then I think we've got one more. When creating an agent using Studio, do you need to maintain that Studio license for end users to consume the agent?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different versions of the Studio license. So you can go and freely try Copilot Studio with your regular license, and there's no additional cost for that. If you want to start building more advanced agents, then there is a maker's license for Studio as well that you can buy that extends the capabilities. So it doesn't really depend on sort of duration, can I build them or do I need to pay? It's more the complexity of the agent that determines whether you've got to upgrade the license at this stage. Having said that, Microsoft have been giving basic agent capability in Studio freely since they released Copilot. That may not last forever, to be fair, because it is licensed in the admin center as like a trial code kind of thing. It's got this viral trial name or something like that. So it's possible they could pull that in the future, but there's been no sign of that yet, certainly.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for all of your questions, everyone. And if something pops to mind afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. Do you mind just going on the next slide for me, please, James? I just got a little bit of a ending after this one. Thank you so much. So this is how you can get started now. We've just got some different examples of how CSG can support you and get you started. So today we've gone through different use cases, but if you want to get them more one-on-one experience of how people can use it, then please reach out to the team today because we can give you a personalised demo there. We use training tools to help you guys support your employees on how to use Copilot Chat safely and confidently. And then adoption services will provide some proof of value, pilots and champion programs for you as well, and then prompt libraries. We've got loads of different examples to share with you. If you want to get started today, please do. And then please reach out to your account managers. Any customers on the call today, please reach out to your customer account manager for any of the technical questions, because it's nothing better than getting a really personalised approach to adopting it. So please set up a call today with your account managers, and anyone new on the call today who isn't a customer, then please I'm going to pop the link in the chat now to book a meeting with us, or you can reach out on sales@csg.co.uk as well. And like I said, there's been lots of new people on the call today, which is really exciting. So please reach out and we can get a meeting set up today. I've just popped a link in the chat, so if you click on that, you can set up a meeting with one of the team here, or give us a call, because there's nothing better sometimes than actually just picking up the phone and giving us a call. So please do that as well. James, thank you so much for your time today and for your incredible demo. We've really enjoyed hearing all the different ways that people can use it, and to be honest, it never gets old of finding new and innovative ways to use it. As the AI tools are getting more, people get more confident with them now. I think people are less scared of putting in prompts and chats, and like we've discussed today, the data security is a very important part of it, and that's something that Copilot happily makes sure. So thank you so much again for your time and for everyone joining. Thank you for this morning. We can all go have a try on it today, because like we just said, the free version is available now to try. So afterwards, I hope we all get it on our screens and start putting some prompts in and start seeing how to use it. Once again, thank you, James.
Thank you all. Really enjoyed it. Pleasure to be here as always. Lovely to see so many of you. I wish you the very best of luck with your AI journey. If you need any help at all, you know where we are. Good luck with it. Go and have fun, and we'll speak to you soon, we hope.